What is up, Cubes fan? Cubes back with you, and welcome back to another one of these things where I do some random bullshit and talk. I think today will probably be something like all the mods busy work or something. I'm not sure. I guess we'll find out. So anyway, um, lots of fun shit happening. Some of you might have caught the change in the name of the donation thing a couple times. That's gonna kind of skip around a little bit, I guess. Actually, the one I have right now, which is Help Me Upgrade, is probably gonna stick around for a while because that one is because I'm gonna try to get a new computer, and that's a pretty good one. That there's not really gonna be anything that changes. But for those of you who might have, I think I did at least the Zelda video with it. So I didn't end up losing this job I have, but I was placed on hold for something that was really stupid, and I probably will be switching professions sooner as opposed to later. But for the moment, I'm sticking with it. So to alleviate the confusion for y'all, there is that out of the way. As for the current one, if y'all decide to donate through Streamlabs, then those donations will go towards. I picked an arbitrary number close to what my last pricing was for the new laptop that I wanted, which is like $2,500. I think I set it to, which is roughly in the neighborhood of that. And that's mainly just because I figured I'd go all in, like an Alienware or something. But yeah, so if you guys decide to do those, it really helps me out. Obviously, it's not like required or anything. But I am trying to figure out how I want to do it, but I am going to do incentives to donate. So I'll do, like, for every $1 donation, I'll send in a chance cube in Minecraft, or eat a Bean Boozled bean or something. I don't know what exactly yet, but I want to come up with some incentives and stuff like that. That way, you guys get the enjoyable content and get to interact with me at some level. I'm sure eventually I'll probably do a thing where, like, if you donated $200, I'd like wear a panda suit or something. Not that I have one, but you get what I mean. Like, just crazy stuff like that. I think at some point I would do that, but right now it's kind of just like I don't really know what to do for incentives. This is like my problem with trying to figure out what to put up on Patreon. That's another thing. If we can get enough people on Patreon, I can afford to open a second server, and y'all can play an adaptation of the Cubes Craft Mod Pack with us, which would be really fun, I think. But yeah, so there's that. So talking points. I think today I will rant about something that's been really annoying me. And that is why all tech, all software, cannot recognize file formats that they can look and play. Like, I can go on Google Drive and say I have an MP4 music file that I downloaded, and play it on my phone, and it'll play it without a problem. It'll recognize it as an audio file, and it'll play it fantastically. But if I try to put that file into iTunes so that I can add it to my iTunes library, nope, iTunes won't recognize it. Won't even put it in. Has no idea what it's doing. And that's bullshit. That's complete, ridiculous, utter bullshit. And, you know, this kind of goes to something else that bothers me, too, with video file formats. It is so annoying to have to take a video and put it into 5 or 6 different softwares to try to find what kind of software can run it. You know, this was a long time problem for iMovie files, because Windows Movie Maker for the longest time would not play them, which was really stupid and annoying, because then you had to go open it in QuickTime, which is by far one of the most god-awful user interfaces for a media player I've ever used in my life. But, like, also, for instance, without a separate library, Audacity will not recognize, I think it's the WMA files, which is really dumb. Like, why can we not recognize file? Like, it's not like these things are new and constantly updated. I mean, yes, I'm sure that there are new versions coming out, but the primary ones, MP3, MP4, WMA, was it OOG or OGG? I know that's the file format that Apple uses for ringtones, but anyway, not my point. My point is, these have all been around for a long time, and their compression algorithms haven't really changed, to my knowledge, that much in a decade. So why can't iTunes recognize an MP4? And for that matter, you know, just to call out Apple, they could become a much more versatile media player, and actually not be the going alongside of, but even compete with the stuff that, like, I know Microsoft moved it to be in, like, movies and TV and their, like, built-in thing, but media player used to do all that as well, and I suppose it still can to a degree. But, like, why can't you import videos into your Apple library? Like, to do it is ridiculous, because, like, basically you have to upload it to your iCloud, and then it'll show up. But even still, I wouldn't know where to look for that, aside from my phone's Reels, like photo album sort of thing, or going to iCloud to find it. Like, where would that show up? Because there's only movies and TV, as far as the video selections for sorry for any background noise, for iTunes, which is really stupid. I guess there's video podcasts, but that's just all in one podcast now. But it's really stupid. Like, why can't that be a thing? You know, I would have to go to some serious headache to add something to my library, which is kind of annoying. Like, I guess I haven't tried. You can probably take, like, a music video, for instance, that you download it and drag it into your music library, and it would probably try to play it as a song or something, but that's dumb, too. Like, why? It's just annoying that there's proprietary file stuff. Like, I don't mind that there's all the different file types. My problem is the fact that these file types, are standard now. Like, this is the range of things we tend to use. So why don't we update everything so people don't have to own 17 different devices and, like, 5 different computer programs to run them, you know? It's really obnoxious. The fact that there's times where I have to, like, find something that can burn a file to a CD so that I can import it through iTunes as an MP3, just so I can put it on my iPod. that's kind of ridiculous. Like, for one, that makes me go through the entire extra step of having to buy CDs, which, although I do have a sizable amount of, is not my point. That adds a whole extra step and even expense to somebody who might be dealing with a problem who doesn't have a supply already. I think that's really annoying. I think it's really annoying that there's still devices that exist in the world that can't read a PDF. And that's absolute bullshit, because PDFs have been around for a very long time now. I can understand whenever Adobe first started, but now, like, come on, guys, it's 2023. How can this thing not read a PDF? And for that matter, why are there still devices that can't read the file format that Word saves something in? Like, what if I was writing something and I wanted to read it on my iPad? I would have to open it in Google Drive if I didn't have 365 installed on my iPad, because, well, maybe the iPad reads it now. I haven't actually tried that in a while, but I do know that there are some devices that just won't read it. The only thing they recognize is a PDF or an EPUB or something, and that's just stupid. Like, there is no reason that needs to be a thing anymore. Like, we have moved past where I think that's necessary. As a society, I think we have moved past the age of needing to proprietize stuff. If people want something, they'll get it. And, a lot of the time, they'll go and keep finding other things, other places, until they can get it the way they want it. Like, personally, I'm just butthurt that my devices aren't doing what I want them to do. That's my personal thing. Like, I already have quite a few devices. Like, I'm willing to figure out how to make it work. It's just really annoying that it's that hard. But there are other people out there who will go out of their way to go and get something in the way they want it, the format they want it, from the place they want it. That may not necessarily be the greatest place. Maybe it won't be a trustworthy source or what have you. But they'll go and do it anyway. And this kind of stretches into other things as well. Like, I thought it was a big boon for the industry whenever Nintendo announced that the Switch was going to use a USB-C for the charger port, because that is a huge change for Nintendo. They are so proprietary in everything, and to an extent, so was Microsoft till very much more recently. I don't know about the plugs for the newer Xboxes, but I know as of the stage of the 360, it was still like proprietary, fat-ass looking plug. But like Sony was starting to go toward. I think the PS4 used the same power cord as my printer did, which is another thing. Okay, let's switch topics for a second. Printers have the dumbest problems on the planet. How is it that we are at the point where a 3D printer can make a car, but we can't simplify the user interface and eradicate the problems with affordable printers? Like, seriously. For one, the printer head alignment thing. That is the most annoying process I've had to go through in my life. Who the fuck designed that? It's stupid. It's really fucking stupid. But, like, my printer, I mean, granted, my printer's a few years old, but, like, even 10 years ago, we had the capability of making it. Like, for instance, my printer, about every hour or so, if you're, like, like for instance, Maddie goes through and prints off recipes. So she's spending half that time scrolling and half that time printing, and maybe every hour or so, I have to reset the Wi-Fi on it. It won't stay connected, which is incredibly stupid. That's a problem that something as simple as a printer has regularly. Like, and this is not the first printer we've had that does this. So it's not like it's a one-off fault. This is like, if you're using it for long enough, it just stops working, which is kind of stupid. But like, also, why are we using a fucking proprietary cord for the ones that are wired? Like, yes, at least the one end is just a normal USB, but what's up with the big fat A-frame USB end that's specific to printers? Like, why is that a thing? Why can't that be like a micro USB or mini HDMI or whatever? Like, why is that a thing? I think that's really. I think this is the propriety rant Mark II, and this is less to do with like me complaining just because of TV show things. I think it's also kind of appalling the way that we. This is just me bitching. I'm sorry, guys. I think it's kind of appalling the way that we have, in the last, let's say, 5-10 years, barely advanced in our data storage capacities. And even still, a lot of people don't realize this, but without the proper tune-ups and maintenance to all your stuff, after 5 to 10 years, hard drives have problems. They still can break down and corrupt data and all that sort of thing, which is really super disappointing. I've been learning this the hard way through my own files that I've kept for upwards of a decade. And, a book I was writing when I was 13 doesn't exist anymore because I hadn't opened it in 7 years. And the data just went away. Like, I had a lot of my stuff on jump drives, like flash drives, small USB drives. And I didn't know this at the time. A lot of those have a latent charge, and that charge goes away. So once that happens, it takes a couple years, but once that happens, data can start getting corrupted and lost. And I didn't know that at the time, and I just transfer it from flash drive to flash drive and just not access it. And meanwhile, the data is slowly losing bits out of it as it goes, to the point now where it's like I tried to open it in recovery mode, and now it's all just like those stupid empty square icons for when you try to put in an icon and it doesn't know what the fuck you're trying to type. And it's really sad to a point, but if that's a problem that we continually have, what's going to happen to us in a few hundred years? I understand that the digital age is at the height of its birth right now. It is at a point where now we are accruing teraquats of information from all over the world, from people putting out live streams and YouTube videos and all that, to massive amounts of data, including personal data and records and all sorts of stuff that's getting digitized now for the first time. And now is when we really need to think about, okay, now we can do this digitally. How do we keep this digitally? And a lot of people aren't even focused on the problem, to my knowledge. But, I've thought a lot about, I'm very existential. I think about the very long-term the very big picture. How do we as a species, for instance, preserve what's going on now so that in 1,000 years we aren't as forgotten as, say, a random Native American tribe? Because I know that there are plenty that they were not very big, they didn't trade a lot, and somewhere along the line they either died out or got married into other tribes and dissolved as an entity. What's to stop America or Europe or Russia, whoever? I'm not picking on you, but what is to stop our society from being forgotten? What's to stop, say, a teenager from 3102 from asking, what's a world war? Or hell, what is the internet? Because we might not call it that. If we can preserve knowledge, we won't, for one, probably be subject to making the same mistakes. Because let's be fair, it's very possible that in 1,000 years there could be another crusade, a few more world wars, an atomic war or two. Like, where's the line where we move forward into a future that remembers us? Nothing lasts forever, and I get that. But, I don't know. I just have this existential idea of, we could be doing something. Even the stone monuments Willie wrote, there must be some way to preserve digital data for longer. And who knows, maybe the answer is that the only way that can happen is with organic substitutes. Perhaps what we need is a big brain that we download information into, or something. I have no idea what form that will take. I have some ideas for some things I want to try when I have the time and space to do so. But, all I have is theories about things. I don't have the practical application to it. And I don't think that I'm going to be able to contribute very much. If I do contribute anything at all, it can only be the first few steps, at most, in a very long journey. Because once we say, okay, now we can preserve this data for 1,000 years, what's the next step? How do we preserve data for 1,000,000 years? And I've thought a lot about this because of time pouches and stuff. Is there a way to preserve something so perfectly that it will be as good as the day you put it in there? And I'm not talking about in some weird pseudo stasis thing with chronokinetic suspension and stuff. I'm not talking about that. Just in sort of the normal veil of, hey, we're going to put the shit in a box and somebody's going to open it in 10,000 years. How do we do that? How do we preserve something to survive that long? We can barely scratch the surface of things that are 10,000 years ago now. Obviously, we have scratched the surface. We have found those things, but the amount of knowledge that we have is pitiful to the amount of knowledge that if things survived from this day and age that we would have for centuries to come. Um, and we know so much more now than we did back then. Who knows? We might have known more back then than we think we do because we don't know. Because it was lost. You know, there was a lot of stuff that was lost from word of mouth passing on, which was a problem back then, which is something that we thankfully have evolved past now. Where at the very least, if we do something by word of mouth, we can record it on a video or on an audio tape, you know, whatever. And that way it can be remembered. And that's something that, you know, they didn't have the ability to do 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 years ago. About how different the world would be today if we knew what really happened, who was really there, how they really behaved, and you know, what things were really like. All we have is scattered hearsay and legend and myth. But, you know, it would be cool if someday somebody remembered, oh yeah, there was, you know, say for instance, oh, Neil Armstrong was the first man on the moon. But it would be kind of disappointing if somebody 1,000 years from now was like, you know, legend once says that a man walked on the moon. You know, I mean, somebody could still phrase it that way and know what they were talking about, but you know what I mean. It's just kind of one of those things. I don't know. I know this took a weird left turn from proprietary shit to, oh, how do we make things last forever? And realistically, I know that as the old saying goes, all good things must come to an end. Nothing's ever truly forever. You know, even something that, for instance, say we found a way to write something that, like, we can store in a star. Eventually, that star will explode. There's just no real guarantee for eternity, but we could try. Like, I personally don't think, even if we get to the point where we have the technology to do it, that we'll ever get to the point where things are held in, like, temporal spaces. I just don't think, I think that's possible. I think the state of chronokinetic suspension is possible, but I don't think that we'll ever think to use it for that. And even still, that makes a question, how long can that be kept up for? You know, that's something that would probably take a very large amount of power. So who's to say, oh, that can only be done for like a year? Like, okay, that's not very useful. I don't know. I have high hopes for the future of mankind, and I think that as I approach my 30s, I'm about to turn 28, I've spent a lot of time looking back at the past and the things I wish I remembered better. You know, it occurs to me how precious little a great deal of the human race don't even put behind what's come before. Not only from the, oh, learn from your mistakes thing, but also from the treasured moments. You know, in public moments, for instance, things like the moon landing, things like whenever we go back to the moon is going to be a big deal. With Artemis 2, you know, things like the founding of different countries, or eventually it'll happen the day that the world decides to be at peace and be one unit. I'm sure it will happen someday. It will probably be thousands of years from now. or at least hundreds of years from now, but I'm sure it will happen eventually. And that will be a precious moment. And who knows how long that piece will last. If it's not remembered, maybe not very long. But if it is treasured for a long time, who knows? There's no real way of knowing as far as that part of it goes, especially with something so chaotic as global politics. I guess that also kind of makes me think, why haven't we really put people on working on neural interaction with machines? Like, I know there's been a little bit of work on it in the field of prosthetics, making prosthetics that are more responsive to the signals that your brain sends, so they move like, say, a normal hand, a prosthetic hand. But they're very few and far between, and there's not a lot of work going into it in different directions. What about a computer that you can control with your mind? I know what people are going to say. Oh, Google's going to take over your brain. If they wanted to do that, they probably could already do that by now. I have very little doubt in that. But the flip side of it is, what if we could download our memories? That, for one, Alzheimer's would not be a big issue, really, anymore. I mean, sure, it would be. But as far as the physical effects on people, but, if you could just, they're having memory issue, just replay memories. How different would that be? And I think I've thought about that a lot, because there's a lot of things that are precious that happen in our lives, and especially for some of us, it was in days before everybody had a camera in their pocket, or even a camera at all. For me, I know I've been struggling with the fact that I have a large amount of disposable cameras, and recently I learned that they generally have a shelf life of 5 to 10 years, and many of them are 20 years old, getting to be. So I have no idea how many of those precious moments that we always save for later. Oh, we'll develop them when we can. And I kept putting it off, I kept forgetting about it. And how many of those precious moments probably haven't survived. It's very possible that none of them have. And that's very depressing. Some of those pictures were only 10 years old. I know one of the cameras that I have that I can't find is the camera I brought with me to the last day of school, because my phone's battery was giving out, and it was right before I got my iPhone. And I wanted to take some pictures with people. And some of those people, they're the only pictures that exist with me in the same picture. And yet, I probably don't have them anymore. And that's kind of depressing. So that's kind of something that has also affected my opinion on this preservation thing, is the fact that getting to be that age and appreciating having that tactile memory to be able to reference, and then having some of that gone, is a real shame. And you think of it from the perspective of the human race, and the human race is not even out of its infancy yet. We've just begun to walk, and who knows how many times we may revert back to the crawl before we learn to fly. I don't just mean that in the sense of like airplanes. I mean to soar above the heights that we've reached now as a species. Like, research is finally going in the direction of superluminal propulsion. We've got people getting ready to go to Mars. We have advancements in medicine that are finally happening in larger quantity again. We also have development in society that's, society's trying to move forward. There's a lot of people who are like trying to push for, and please don't go political on me, people. For instance, universal health care, which, yes, I know has its economic impact, but at the end of the day, I support in concept the idea that human life should be taken care of. I know there has to be a counterbalance somewhere, but who am I to judge what that counterbalance would have to be? But also, we are much more accepting these days of people for their sexual context of preference and identity. We are much less racially charged than we were 300 years ago, 400 years ago. There's still a lot of tension there, but there's a lot less of it than there was at the height of that time. Our arts are evolving. People are coming up with new ideas on how to make art. We've sort of got different ideas, which will probably always continue to evolve on what to consider art. Music has definitely evolved in the last 20 years. All sorts of things. And it will continue to evolve. And I've lost my train of thought. Oh, this is what it's like being in my head, people. Ping pong, ping pong. Yeah. I hope this is going to be some long digging session or something. Something. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed my content. Please feel free to leave your opinions on everything I've just said in the comment section of whatever video I put this to, or there's a suggestion email. You can also put opinions or whatever in the subject line for emails. You can my Twitter and everything is all down there. So, but yeah, and don't forget to support the channel and everything I do over on Patreon, patreon.com/CubeZenoLP, or by donating on Streamlabs as a one-time donation. Streamlabs.com/CubeZenoYT. And yeah, I will catch you guys later. Don't let's go and show them out. You want to see it? Peace!